Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jesse from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Gooden, and I am joined on the spookiest night of them all by Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, happy Halloween.
Rob Gooden, happy Halloween to you and all the fantastic friends and family of the Stardom Cast. Yes, as we're recording this, is Tuesday, October 31st, which is Halloween, which brings me to my very first question right out of the gate, Rob Goodwin. Was there any really, really good or really, really bad costumes that you dressed up as for Halloween?
I dressed up as Hulk Hogan once, which some people, depending on whether you're a fan of Hulk Hogan, might say it was bad, but Halloween, especially where I lived, I don't think it's as big in Britain as it is in, the States. But I don't really remember dressing as much. I remember my brother dressing as Freddie Mercury from the I Want to Break Free video that came complete with an inflatable Hoover, which was just magnificent. But yeah, in terms of bad costumes, I didn't. I know my mate came as his ex-girlfriend, which I thought was quite funny.
That's phenomenal. We're out the gate in the shoot, ladies and gentlemen.
Honestly, it was the greatest moment ever because he walked in and he genuinely looked like her, which isn't, it's harsh, but she was absolutely horrible to him. So, but yes, we had a good laugh about it. And yeah, so what about you? What about bad Halloween costumes in the Turner household?
Now, when I was younger, there was a couple times I went as half Jason and half Freddy. So the Freddy glove and the Jason mask, that was my creativity.
Nice.
A lot of times, just because my parents were always just so busy with work and, 3 kids and my dad coaching all these sports and whatnot, that they really didn't have a lot of time to put in creativity. So I always played football, American football, when I was younger. So I would just literally put on my football gear and be like, all right, there's trick or treat, give me candy and whatnot. So that was really the extent of it. As I got older, my one buddy, he threw a Halloween party. My buddy Pete, he threw a Halloween party at his right outside of his place there, or outside of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, and I went as Ricky Morton.
Nice.
And so I have to see if I can find the pictures. And then a handful of years ago, we had a Halloween party here at the house, and me, Amber, and Lily went as rock, paper, scissors. So that was always good. Some of these pictures, I'm again, this is going to come out Thursday, Friday for everybody, but I think probably as soon as we get off this podcast, since it is Halloween, I'm going to put a whole bunch of pictures up on the social medias so everybody can see. But my favorite things about Halloween over the past years is just some of the outfits that Lily has gone as. When she was really, really little, every year she would go as a Disney princess, whether it was Snow White or Cinderella or what have you. But my wife is a very, very creative person. So as she was getting towards the final years of her dressing up for Halloween, she would make her own Halloween outfits. One of them, she went as Cotton Candy. And the picture is Lily just so uncomfortable because she's in this giant thing. It looks like giant pillows, colored pillows, and she's so uncomfortable. But probably my favorite one is she went as It's Raining Cats and Dogs. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the saying, it's raining cats and dogs. So what the outfit was, and I'm definitely going to post this picture, what the outfit was is Lily was dressed up as if she was going out into a rainstorm with the boots and the raincoat and the whole nine, and then an umbrella. And then Amber got a fishing wire and attached it through the umbrella, and then had little stuffed animals of dogs and cats. So it was raining cats and dogs, which I thought was really, really clever and really, really cute.
That's amazing. I mean, I have thought, so we did do, obviously I went to university, we did have some Halloween parties there, where sort of I went as a leprechaun, but we were the first year to stay in these brand new accommodation, these brand new state-of-the-art accommodation. Everyone was like, oh, these are incredible. And so we've been there about 5 weeks. It was still fairly spotless. And obviously I went as a leprechaun, so I needed a green sweater vest. Now, I had two choices where I went to university in the north of Wales. There were plentiful charity shops. So the chances are, if I could be bothered to go down to the high street, I could have found a green sweater vest. So that was my first option. My second option was to buy green spray paint and spray a normal sweater vest green. Obviously, I opted for the spray paint. And what I did was, because obviously I didn't want to hold it and spray it, because then I'd get green paint on myself. So what I did was, I masking taped it to the wall outside the accommodation. And I sprayed it. And it looked really good. And I took it off the wall and I put it on the floor, flipped it and sprayed it. And then I realised that there was a huge green outline on the wall of the building and another huge green outline on the path outside the building. The building had been open for 5 weeks and I'd successfully graffitied both the path and the roof. The wall even. As well, like being a teacher as well. When I was a teacher, it was a great chance to dress up, and we had what was called British Values Day. Which, having been a teacher for 10 years, I can successfully tell you that I still don't know what the British values are, but there we are. So we had to come as something quintessentially British. So me, my TA, and my student teacher at the time sort of thought we need a three costume.
Can I guess?
It wasn't three.
Oh, no. Well, it's got to be British. Was it Davy Boy Smith, the Dynamite Kid?
I would have made a kick-ass Matilda.
I think it was a Dynamite Kid. I really did.
Well, it was not, unfortunately. No, we went as a full English breakfast. So I went as a piece of streaky bacon. My TA came as a fried egg, and my student, who I'd known for about 3 weeks at this point, didn't really know him that well, but he came as a massive red tomato, and we won this primary school costume party, and I was honestly the happiest I've ever been. But obviously it is Halloween. So we are going to be talking about Stardom's Halloween pay-per-view. But before we do that, I just need to ask Matt, what scary film, what Halloween film, if any, is your go-to?
My all-time favorite horror movie, Rob, is It. Stephen King's It. Now, not the one that got redone a couple years ago. I actually didn't watch that one, but the one that came out, I think it was the late 80s, early 90s. Either that one or the original Halloween. Now, I will make mention, Rob, I'm a huge fan of horror movies, or at least I was. Growing up, I watched all the, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Friday the 13th, all that, Nightmare on Elm Street, all that. And then I started dating my wife about 14 years ago, and she does not like scary movies at all. So I have not seen a scare. Now, she would go see Saw with me when we first started dating, but I haven't seen the last 2 or 3 because that's more of like gore than it is really horror. So, but those would be my go-tos. Would probably be Stephen King's It and the original Halloween from 1978. How about yours, my friend?
I mean, Tim Curry is absolutely frightening in that film, to be fair. So me and my girlfriend aren't horror film people at all. We are both incredibly fragile people. So we made a pact to watch, basically, all the classics, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. So we've been slowly making our way through those. Now, one of my all-time favourite films, and this is a very basic pick, is Scream, the original Scream.
Yes.
Yeah. Incredible film. I can go back to it and watch it over and over and over again. But something that we've watched tonight for the first time, speaking of classics, Carrie, which I was about halfway through this film, I was like, what on earth is happening in this film? Like, what is this? And then for the last, 15 minutes, it is just balls to the wall crazy. Like, we just sat there like, oh my God, what is happening? So if you haven't seen, Carrie, the original 1976 one, I do recommend it. Bit of a weird start, and those people that have seen it will know the weird start that I'm talking about. But other than that, it's a decent film. It's a decent film. I don't think I'll watch it again, but I'm glad I've watched it once. Have you seen
Now,
this?
Rob, we're going to take this thing full circle. That was one of my parents' very first date, was on the drive-in movie theater in 19
Wow.
Yes, obviously I was born in 1982, so obviously a handful of years before one Mr. Matt Turner came into this crazy, best of all possible crazy worlds. But yes, my dad always tells the story. Now, obviously you've seen the whole entire film, right? Because I'm about to do a spoiler.
Yeah, we've watched the entire thing.
Okay, so spoilers for a movie that's 45, 46 years old, folks. So somebody tipped they're at the the drive-in movie theater. And what they did back then is they would show the film on the giant screen, but they would give you a speaker or two to put in your car so you can hear the sound. Well, somebody tipped my dad off earlier in the day that they're at the very end, when they get to the grave. Remind me, Rob, I haven't seen this in a couple of years, but like the hand comes up, right? Or Carrie pops out or something like that, right?
Yeah, there's a girl laying flowers, and then Carrie's hand pops up out of the dirt.
So somebody tipped my dad off to say, "Hey, that's like the very last scene of the movie." So as it was happening, my dad took the portable speaker that they gave and put it right up to my mom's ear, cranked the volume, and then screamed really loud, and my mom went absolutely ballistic. So the fact that, and I know how overwhelming my dad could be now, at 65, 66 years old. So the fact that he did that and they still went on a handful of dates and got married and had 3 kids is, again, sometimes I look back at things. I'm like, man, how was I even born, considering just how nuts my dad was and my mother putting up with that. But yeah, so how about that coming full circle on the Stardom Cast podcast, my friend?
There you go. Again, it is Halloween. It is the season of scares, and Jesus, we are going to be talking about a scary pay-per-view in more ways than one. But before we do that, Matt Turner, why don't you tell us all what's coming up on the Patreon this week?
Absolutely, Rob Goodwin. Usually Monday, Tuesday, we release the alternate commentary, which was a bonus for the month of October, as there was 5 Mondays in the month of October. Rob and I sat down and we did the commentary for the Instant Classic, the finals of the 2023 5-star Grand Prix between Mike and Suzu Suzuki. Now, I know some of you on our Patreon are saying, well, how come it hasn't been released yet? Because Rob has decided, and I totally agree with them, that the audio and the video were kind of distorted, and we did not want to release a half-assed product. So we will be redoing that match sometime in the near future. It is the holiday season, and I have a lot of time coming up. So we will figure it out, a date and time where Rob and I will get back together and do that match, and we will release it now as a make good, because sometimes we are hammered by the technology that is between Rob's house and my house. We're handicapped. That's what I was looking for. So what we're doing as a make good is that our non-Stardom alternate commentary match, our watch along match for this month, as we made mention last week, is going to be from the Tokyo Dome from Pro Wrestling Noah, with Kensei Sasaki taking on Kenta Kobashi. What we're going to do is all tiers, everything from the $1 tier to the $25 tier, you are going to get that match as an apology and as a makeup. And again, Rob and I will find some time between now and the end of the year to give you that Suzu Suzuki versus Micah match. And we greatly apologize, but kudos to you, Mr. Rob Goodwin, for not wanting to give a half-ass product. So that's why there has not been an alternate commentary. However, ultimate commentary next week will be another instant classic, as that is the theme of the month of November. Will be Maya Iwatani challenging Mercedes Moné for the IWGP Women's Championship from All-Star Grand Queendom. So that'll be in your feeds next week. What is already in your Patreon feeds is Tam Nakano's the complete review of her 2021 5-star Grand Prix. So that is already in your feeds. And again, next week, you will have Mayu versus Mercedes. Now, Rob Goodwin, this might be the most negative I will be on this podcast, maybe ever, and maybe the most negative I will be in my 19 years of life. And I'll get to that in just a second. You will understand why, and you're going to have a laugh. I know you will. So the just of about 2 hours ago, the poll results
for the bi-weekly podcast for the month of November came in. And FWC's 2021 Goddess of Stardom Championship run, that one, as well as the 2019 year-end climax complete show. So those will be the two ones coming up on your feed, probably the second week and the final week of November. Again, the FWC 2021 Goddess of Stardom tournament run and the 2019 year-end climax show. Now, I'm not upset that I'm doing those shows. I would not put anything up on the Patreon that I did not want to see. What I'm upset with, Rob, is Meltier's 2022 Goddess Run got 0 votes. Not one of you voted for Dear Tam and Dear Natsupoi. Now, not only am I upset about that, Rob, 2 times in the past year or so, I have put up on the Patreon poll for my Himipois Artists of Stardom Run, Maika, Himika, and Natsupoi. 2 times I put that up, and it didn't win. You know what else I put up 2 times on the Patreon poll, didn't win? Tam Nakano's Wonder of Stardom Championship Run. I'm just starting to think either you guys just don't like Meltier or you guys are just trying to rib me. Like, what is going on here?
I love the fact that I think there should be a gimmick now where you put it up and just people just will not vote for it. In fact, all Stardom Patreon members, attention, please ensure that Matt never does these. Never vote for them. Never, ever vote for them.
Not even one vote for Meltier. Again, like the My Himi stuff and the Tam stuff, they came close. But obviously we take the top 2 out of 4. And I was like, man, I put that up on the poll twice. You know, Tam's a big deal, and that My Himipoi run for match quality is absolutely fantastic. And then when I was looking at the result, I got the message, looking at the results, then I was looking at the ones that I go through email and my other social media accounts to add them in. I'm like, I don't know if this has ever happened before where something did not get 1 and it was my beloved Tam and Poi. What is going on here, folks?
Well done, people. Well done. Yeah, as Matt has alluded to, unfortunately, we haven't been able to release the audio and the video of Suzu Suzuki and Maika in the 5-star final. It wasn't good enough, basically. The internet kept cutting out, and I thought that what I could do in post was sort of trim it and put it all together. And once I'd done that, and it took me ages to do it, but once I'd done it, it didn't flow, it didn't feel right. So rather than release, like Matt said, a half-assed product, I've sort of made the executive decision that we'll just redo it. And, it means that we've got to watch the match again, which, damn it, it's such a hard job, but, someone has to do it. But yeah, so that's what's coming up on our Patreon. I just want to give a massive shout out to everyone that is a part of the Stardom Cast Patreon. Honestly, you guys are absolutely awesome. Your support means absolutely everything. And everyone that has listened to the podcast over the month of October that has made already. So I made the announcement, I think a couple of weeks ago, that July to October had been the most listened quarter of a year we've ever done. And already, just in October, we've beaten that again, which is phenomenal. So to anyone that has given us the opportunity to, talk to you about Stardom or has listened just to hear us talk absolute nonsense, thank you, because it really does mean a huge amount. Before we talk about the shows that we're going to talk about, the run up to the Stardom Halloween show, the 2 nights of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, and of course we'll be talking a little bit about the New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed show that was this weekend as well, because obviously we had a New Japan Strong Openweight Women's Championship title defense from Julia. We also had an insight and confirmation then of who Mayu Iwatani will be facing at Lone Star Shootout in Garland, Texas, and that full card has also been announced as well, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's talk about some news, and the first most important thing I wanted to talk about, Matt, is Syuri, because of course Syuri is incredibly important. And on the Wrestling Observer, it was announced that something major is going to happen at the Gold Rush pay-per-view on the 18th of November in Osaka. Now, this nugget of information that Dave has dropped, whether you put any stall in what Dave Meltzer says or not, he doesn't often cover Stardom. He has more recently, but it does give me thought that something big is going to happen. It would surprise me if something didn't happen. Now, what that is up for a lot of speculation. What seems to be being speculated around the internet, and again, none of this is confirmed, but it seems to center around Syuri doing these UWF matches. Because obviously she cut that promo where she called out the best in the world. So there is speculation as to who that next opponent after Gold Rush, because Syuri is taking on Alice Inc. at that show. The speculation is rife as to who that could be. Whatever the announcement is, Matt, whether it's Mercedes Moné coming back, whether it is an opponent for Syuri heading into Dream Queendom, I'm incredibly excited. If you could have an opponent for Syuri, and I've seen two names, and we'll talk about those two names in a moment, who would you love to see?
I mean, it's got to be the Repo Man and the human Cadillac, Dorian DeVille. I mean, that's what we got.
Oh, the greatest wrestling name.
Yeah, I mean, Syuri's always done these UWF matches, like kind of like our UWF, whatever you want to call it, UWF, UWFI, shoot style matches, kind of sporadic, once every now and again. But there seem to be more and more, so it seems like it's building towards something. Now, I know that you had mentioned that there was a little bit of a rumbling that was going to be Asuka from the WWE. Now, once Asuka lost the women's championship, a handful of months ago, she started making mentions that she'll go back to Japan, and maybe this is something that maybe WWE would loan Asuka to Stardom just for that show, because I believe she's still under contract, at least for a little bit. Very much like how they did with Nakamura getting to wrestle the Great Muta on one of his 84,000 retirement tour matches, which is all, I'm not complaining. Kudos to Keiji Muto for stretching that out as long as he did. So that was a possibility. However, with a certain one, Ronda Rousey making the rounds doing independent matches, and the fact that Syuri's like, I want to wrestle the best in the world at these shoot style matches. Now, I'm a huge, huge MMA fan. I'm a huge UFC fan, Pride, the whole nine. I'm not going to say Ronda Rousey is the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time. That, to me, I think is either Valentina Shevchenko or Amanda Nunes. But we always say, Rob, I mean, everything is, speculative. You can have your favorites and certain things you like. A lot of things are objective, but the numbers don't lie. When it comes to the biggest draw, pay-per-view draw, gate draw, and female MMA, Ronda Rousey is clearly number one. I don't think there was ever a pay-per-view that she was on, which is either the main event or co-main event, that it didn't do under 1 million buys. And it wasn't, at least $1 million gate. So if Syuri is calling somebody out, she's putting the plants, she's planting the seeds that she wants the best in the world or the baddest in the world, I think it's going to be Ronda Rousey. And I don't think Ronda Rousey, I mean, obviously she'll make a good payday in Stardom, but if she's doing these independent dates, I think this is something that she wants to prove to herself. Now, when she first started with pro wrestling, her first year was absolutely fantastic. She had a phenomenal year from WrestleMania 34 to main eventing WrestleMania 35. Her and Travis Brown, they had a baby, God bless, Muzzle Top. That's amazing that you can create life. And then she came back, and I don't want to be negative, but let's just say it wasn't as good as the first run. And then with her kind of leaving, maybe this is something she needs to prove to herself, where it's like, you know what? Maybe I'll go to Japan and I'll really test myself and I can do certain styles of matches. Now, her final match in the WWE, I believe was at SummerSlam, and her and Shayna Baszler basically had it was like submission and knockout type match that I know the crowd really didn't care for, and a lot of the experts didn't grade high. I really enjoyed the match. However, the crowd didn't get it. But if she's going to be wrestling Syuri on Dream Queendom, which I think that's where they're going for, in Sumo Hall, it's going to be Shuri's style of match that Ronda can really work with, because she can do a little bit more of the hard-hitting shoot style. And, Shuri has really perfected that style over the last 2 years. So, yes, that was once again me being long-winded. I really think maybe this is me being super positive, Rob. I think it's going to be Ronda Rousey, and I'm going to double down. I'm going to say 4 big things out of this Gold Rush pay-per-view is going to happen, other than being a solid card. 1, we're going to see Utami. 2, we're going to see Saya Kamatani. 3, we're going to see something with Mercedes Moné to challenge for Julia for the Strong Championship. And I think we're going to see something with Ronda Rousey. So I think there's going to be 4 major things that are going to happen on that show. And those are my 4 right there, my friend.
I mean, from a numbers standpoint alone, Ronda Rousey coming to Stardom will be incredible. Irrespective of what you think of her as a person, the numbers that she will bring, we've talked a lot about how Mercedes Moné is a worldwide talent. Ronda Rousey is a worldwide talent. She is a legitimate fighter. And if Stardom can boast that they have got Ronda Rousey coming to Dream Queendom to wrestle a UWF match against Shuri, a legitimate MMA UFC fighter, then that's going to move tickets, certainly. Would I prefer Asuka or Ronda Rousey? If I was being, just from my personal standpoint, I would prefer Asuka, but that's just because I prefer Asuka. But if they, obviously Ronda Rousey is doing independent dates, or she's done a handful. I think she's done 2. So it's certainly a possibility. And it's an exciting possibility as well that Stardom is now able to draw a name, like Ronda Rousey to the company. I certainly think it will be divisive, because I know there are people out there who don't agree with things that she's posted on social media, some highly contentious things that she has put on social media, some inflammatory things. But if we're just talking about wrestling, just talking about pro wrestling and a money match, then that's a huge match for Stardom. And that's a huge match for Shuri as well, to legitimize Shuri. To those who, she isn't already legitimized to, but that's a great opponent for Shuri to really showcase and show off her MMA talent, which she might, with the greatest of respect, she might not have been able to do against the likes of, Saki. That aside,
who do you? I'm going to cut you off 2 seconds, buddy. Who do you think it's going to be?
You've put me on the spot. I did see someone mention Ronda Rousey, and
I believe it was Scott. Hi, Scott, and we know he listens.
Yes, it was Scott, actually. It was Scott, thinking about it. I was convinced it was Asuka, and I blame Velkage for that, because he persuaded me on Twitter, and that's a poor choice. No one should ever be persuaded by Twitter, but I was convinced for about an hour that it was going to be Asuka. But yeah, the everything seems to align for it to be Ronda Rousey. I mean, if you put Ronda Rousey on that card versus Shuri, and then assuming that Mercedes Moné is fit for then, if you can boast Mercedes Moné and Ronda Rousey on that Dream Queendom card, as well as being able to stack it with returning people like Utami, like Saya Kamatani, Starlight Kid, who we saw seconding Awedatai XL, so hopefully her return isn't going to be too far off. Natsupoi. It's going to be a very, very, very strong card. Very strong. And that's incredibly, incredibly exciting.
And here's something, too, you have to think about, brother, is that the next week, on January 4th, they're going to try to put about 2,500 people in the Tokyo Dome City Hall as well. So it's a possibility that they may mention maybe like 1 or 2 matches before Dream Queendom. And then right after Dream Queendom, it's like, guess what? Here's our card. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody's going to be in there anyway. That New Japan's probably going to do, 30, 35,000. And then if Stardom hey, we already have Mercedes. She's already here. We already have Ronda Rousey. Now, obviously, Ronda is married with child, so she may want to get back if that's where they go, where Mercedes is married but no child. So maybe they can probably pull one or two of them to get them on that show to drive 2,500 people into Tokyo Dome City Hall. So literally, Rob Goodwin, we always say that the most wonderful time of the year is the start of the 5-Star Grand Prix. As you know, from doing this podcast with me for 2 years, I am the biggest fan of Christmas and the holiday season. And this is just going to make my Christmas vacation time from work, just off from work, just so much better, my friend.
It's funny you should say that. I got a new job recently, and I start on the 1st of December. And the first thing I looked at, and this is how you can tell a wrestling fan, the first thing I checked was when I went back after Christmas break. Why? Because of Wrestle Kingdom. Every single time when I was a teacher, I'd always look at the term dates, and it would always invariably be the bloody 3rd of January. But I've checked my dates. I don't go back till the 8th of January. So not only can I watch Wrestle Kingdom, I can watch the Stardom show, and I can watch New Year Dash. It is a good time in the Goodwin household.
Rob, as always, we're one and the same. I had to work with my manager, who's a great guy, last week, and we were talking about Christmas break and whatnot. He's like, man, you have like 15 or 16 days you have to use by the end of the year. And he goes, well, you can float days over for next year. I said, well, yeah, I'm going to WrestleMania, and fingers crossed I might be going to Japan at the end of that month too. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So I was like, well, hold on. I was like, I can use my vacation days to float over into the new year. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, you have plenty. And I was like, okay, the company gives us these days off. Okay, we have these days for, okay. I was like, and then I was like, okay, we need to take up to the 4th off. He's like, you did that last year too. He's like, you always take January 4th off. He's like, I've noticed that. I said, yeah, I just like to extend my vacation. It's a holiday.
Speaking about returning stars, Mariah May, much I would love to say that she is returning to the company, it's not likely. But she did post something quite cryptic on Twitter before we came on air. Now, it's worth noting that you guys listening to this will have already seen whatever this is alluding to, because she's just put a new promo video on Twitter with the caption, tomorrow, as in Wednesday. Now, of course, every single person has gone, ooh, it's Wednesday. You know what that means. And everyone assumes that Mariah May is going to be turning up on Dynamite. Obviously, that hasn't been confirmed. But we should know something about Mariah May come the end of Wednesday. So you guys, as you're listening to this on either Thursday or Friday, you will already know. And maybe she has turned up on AEW Dynamite. And do you know what? If she has, fair play to her. She's bloody earned it. If it's that she's returning to Stardom, get in. That would be magic. But obviously, whatever is in Mariah May's future. I think after the 9 months that she had in Stardom and the progress she made and the way she was able to turn a crowd into loving her, absolutely loving her in such a short amount of time, connecting with an audience that doesn't nationally speak your tongue, I think is credit to her and credit to the work that she did. So whatever the future holds for Mariah May, good luck, because you fully deserve it. Speaking of Scotty wrestling, Matt, I noticed something that he'd put on Twitter in relation to Micah. Micah did an interview with Tokyo Sports, and she said about how she understood how Himeka felt when Micah lost to Suzuki in the 5-star Grand Prix final. And she said that she wanted to stay away from pro wrestling. And we saw a little bit of that frustration bubble over during their Artist of Stardom Championship match against the Barry Bombers. But she did say that she credits her new partner Megan Bain for helping her to get back on track. And something that I have noticed over the course of this Goddess of Stardom Tag League is a renewed passion. I don't want to say passion because that makes it sound like Micah wasn't, giving her all. Of course she was. She always was. But you can see that she is enjoying the wrestling. You can see that her and Megan Bain have a very, very, very good chemistry in the ring as Divine Kingdom. And that's something that you're seeing more and more and more and more and more throughout this tag league. And actually, Micah has actually learnt a little bit of English. I don't know if you saw this, Matt, in the post-match interview they did with Megan. Micah spoke really quite good English to say that she's thoroughly enjoying her wrestling and basically that Megan Bayne is an excellent partner. So I thought that was nice. And it's nice to see the influence that Megan Bayne is having, especially as, you know, I'll hold my hands up. I thought that Megan was going to be a one and done in Stardom. As soon as she lost to Tam, you know, what else can you do with her? You know, you've conquered the unconquerable. What else are you going to do? And credit where credit's due to both Stardom and to Megan Bayne. There's been a completely new lease on Megan. She's got this fantastic chemistry with Micah. She's got this great sort of anti-friendship with Mei Seira, which is great. The chemistry between her and Suzu Suzuki is fantastic, to the point where everyone, I think absolutely everyone that watches Stardom wants Divine Kingdom to win the tag league. So I was wondering, Matt, what are your thoughts on that? Have you noticed sort of a renewed vigor in Micah?
Yeah, we mentioned last week that new gear she has with Mike. It's really, really clicking. Again, not that her gear was bad beforehand, but she's really leveling up or pokey evolving up, as you and my kid would say. But once again, partner, me and you agree on something and the opposite happens. I was the same way. I thought once Tam beat her, that Megan Bayne would be back off to the States. So, and I think we put all our eggs in that basket, which tells you one thing. If you're at the roulette table, folks, and me and Rob are betting on black, you put every dollar you have on red because the one thing is that we're consistently wrong. But yeah, Megan Bayne's done a great job. They've done a great job booking her, putting her with Micah in this tag league. It almost reminds me a lot of like the late 80 tag tournament in All Japan with like Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody and Doc and Gordy and whatnot, where it's like if they're going to lose in some matches in the tag league, I don't think they're going to be eating many pinfalls, as we saw in Corkin last week where they lost by countout. But it is nice that they're using the Megan Bayne thing to, where Micah teased retirement at the end of the 5-star Grand Prix, because once again, she came so close, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. And she showed that frustration. And now that she's saying, hey, Megan Bayne is, she's putting my energy back into this. She's putting my love back into this. And I'm learning a little bit of English as well. So that's even helping Megan Bayne get over more. She's obviously great in the ring. She's completely different than anybody on the Stardom roster. She has a presence. She's gelling with everybody from Micah to Suzu to Mei Seira, as you mentioned before. She has great chemistry in the ring with Tekla. I've noticed that in these multi-person tag matches. And the fact that Micah said, it's I teased retirement a little bit ago, but now that I'm teaming with Megan Bayne in this tag league and in multi-person matches, it's given me, another shot of passion. I guess a lack of a better word. Maybe we'll see a passion injection match, for lack of a better word, brother. But that's really good. It's really cool that we see Micah doing a little bit more of the English speaking, and again, her putting Megan Bayne over in that promo is just getting Megan over more, with her character and her ability.
Yeah. Completely agree. Couple more bits of news then. So Unagi Sayaka, who after leaving Stardom, we thought, oh, okay, this is a bit weird. Seemed to come out of nowhere really after a relatively poor tournament. Really, we sort of wondered what was next, and it turns out what is next is the whole damn world, because it seems that the eel is taking over the world. Not only did she become the inaugural Kitsune Pro Wrestling Women's Champion, but she also announced on Twitter that she saved up money and will run her own produced wrestling show on January 7th at Korakuen Hall. This was further sort of backed by All Japan Pro Wrestling, who announced that they are going to support that upcoming produce show at Korakuen. So, January 7th, Wrestle Kingdom week. That's a prime spot for a Korakuen Hall show. Second, how awesome is it to see Unagi Sayaka doing stuff like this outside of Stardom? She's literally been in so many promotions from GCW. I know that she's just been announced for another GCW show quite recently. I think it was yesterday she was announced. She's doing spots all over the US. She's seemingly turning up in every promotion that has a women's division in Japan. And the fact that she's been able to save up the money to run her own show is tremendous, and it's really, really good to see. Again, I will hold my hands up. I was not a fan of Unagi. Read my book, listen to the early podcasts. I was not a fan of Unagi, and I stand by that. I don't think she was ready in the way that Stardom were pushing her. However, the improvements, the progress, and the fact that she is betting on herself, I have absolutely nothing but the highest possible respect for Unagi, and I will 100% be tuning into that show, Matt.
Rob Goon, you literally took the words right out of my mouth when you said betting on yourself. When she left Stardom, I was like, oh, she is literally leaving the biggest women's wrestling company in the world, and the second biggest wrestling company in Japan. And right when Mina was getting as hot as she's ever been. So it's like, oh, this isn't going to be good on Unagi. This is, I wonder what's going to happen. Hopefully she can bounce back, and she really, again, bet on herself. Is basically, her own boss, her own CEO, again, for the lack of a better word. And she's doing great with all these shots she's doing over in Japan. I have been seeing some pictures of the merchandise lines and the autograph lines, so she's doing really well there. And yeah, she was just mentioned for GCW in Connecticut, I believe, coming up in the next month or so. And now she's putting on her own show in the legendary Korakuen Hall. And kudos to her and All Japan for backing it right during basically as your after Wrestle Kingdom. So you're still going to have a lot of international folks that are still over in Japan vacationing after Wrestle Kingdom. And why not go to the legendary Korakuen Hall to see Unagi putting on her own show? So kudos to her. It's awesome to see her, making the rounds everywhere she's doing. It's awesome to see her succeeding. I'm always a big fan of people that put in the work, bust their ass, and succeed, especially when they bet on themselves. And that's absolutely what Unagi did. So yes, and the fact that Unagi's been doing these shots for GCW, hopefully if one of them does come a little bit closer to me, that'll be a show that I will attend.
See, this is my limited knowledge of American geography. I thought Connecticut was close to you. So there you go.
Honestly, Rob, it is. Back in my traveling days, this would be not a problem. It's probably about 4.5, 5 hours, which back in my young 20s would be like, that's a walk in the park. But my free time is very, very limited. And now it's like, if it's not within like an hour and a half, 2 hours, it's like, no, I'm good. So Connecticut, isn't too far. It's actually pretty close to Scott. So I wonder if Scott's going. Because Scott is up there in the New England states. I believe he's right outside Boston. So he might be only an hour and a half away from that show. So who knows? Maybe Scott will go and cover it.
Sorry, did you just say it was a 5 hours there and back? And you were like, before you'd have been... This shows the difference between Americans and British people. 5 hours to a place I'm not driving. That's I have to psych myself up for that sort of journey, because our country just isn't big enough to warrant driving that far. If you're driving that far, you're going on holiday. You're just like, yeah, I'll drive 5 hours. Why not? No. As
an independent wrestler or a wrestler in general, that's what you do. You do the drives, you make the towns, you get a whole bunch of people into a car, and you drive. I don't know if I've ever. I'm not going to cover it here. Maybe a later date. I don't know if I've ever covered on this podcast the time I was wrestling for IWA Mid-South, and we were in Indiana, and we had to drive home in a snowstorm, and we had Claudio Castagnoli with us, and it took us 14 hours to get home. And he was driving my car, which the wipers stopped working halfway through, and he was going like 75 miles an hour, and he's the tallest guy in the world, nicest guy in the world, and he had this giant hat on. So I'm sitting behind him as he's driving like 70 miles an hour in this snowstorm, like he's driving a Ferrari. And I even told him, I said, Claudio, I said, you got to slow down. He said, you guys think there's a lot of snow. In Sweden, this is nothing. I said, yeah, this is my car, buddy. I appreciate it if you slow down. So he went from like 75 to 60, bless his heart.
Because that 50 mile an hour makes all the difference.
We survived. Obviously, everybody's thriving. But doing those drives every weekend, it would if we had like a 2 hour to 3 hour one-way drive, that was like a week off. I mean, it was nothing for me to do an 8 to 10 hour drive and then find somewhere to pull over, sleep in my car for 2 hours, and then drive back and then go to work the next day. So that's just what it was. I look back at some of the stuff I did 20 years ago, and I'm like, man, I'm so glad I'm still here and still somewhat sane.
I mean, I had 8 hours sleep last night solidly, and I am tired now, and it's, 25 past 9? We're very different people, Matt Turner, I feel. So, something that we've wanted to announce for a long time, really. So if we are now allowed to announce. So the last bit of news actually involves us. So I don't know if people have seen on Twitter, but a wrestling company called Pro Wrestling Dream has been announced. And they, yesterday, announced their first show, the American Grand Prix, which is going to be taking place on the 30th of November 2023. The winner, of course, will be crowned the first Wrestling Dream champion. And since then, they've announced 2 competitors in this Grand Prix, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. The format of this tournament is 8 wrestlers divided into 2 blocks. It's single elimination. Round 1 match is 15 minutes. Round 2 match is 30 minutes. And then your final is a 60-minute time limit. The wrestlers announced are Hyan, which I think is quite apropos, considering that obviously we're going to be talking about Hyan later on. And Masha Slamovich has been announced about an hour and a half ago. So in terms of 2 first entrants into the American Grand Prix, that's fairly impressive. But why am I talking about it? Well, Matt, me and you can confirm that we are going to be providing commentary. We are your commentary team for Pro Wrestling Dream, aren't we, Matt?
Yes, sir. Now, I'm only able to give a little bit of the detail to notice. The fine gentleman who is running Pro Wrestling Dream hit me up about a month or so ago and said, I'm really loving what you guys are doing on the Stardom Cast. Here's my idea. Here's what I want to do. Would you be interested in doing commentary? And I said, absolutely, no problem. You just get me some dates and let me know what's going on, and we'll go from there. And he said, well, this is going to be in post. We're going to do post-production commentary. So what they're going to do is they will record the show, they'll send it off to me, and then we'll do the commentary for it. My first question was, well, if it's in post and it doesn't have to be live, obviously, if you're new to the Stardom Cast podcast, we have new listeners all the time. Welcome. I am in Pennsylvania, America, and Rob is all the way over in England. So it'll be very difficult for Rob and I to do the commentary live at the actual show. So once they mentioned that, and I said, can I do this with Rob? And then he responded back. He's like, well, is there any way you can get Rob, as if, no disrespect, as if you're Jim Ross, right? Like the way I'm almost positive me and you were texting about something with the show regardless. I said, I'm texting with Rob right now. Hold on one sec. I said, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what you do. If this goes through, you want to be part of this? He's like, yes, absolutely. And within a minute, I'm like, yeah, he's in. He's like, oh, that was quick. I said, yeah, we legit talk all the time. Yeah, again, he's giving me some further details that I just don't want to get into just yet. But yes, Rob and I will be doing the commentary for Pro Wrestling Dream. They basically told me there is a whole bunch of names from Japan, freelancers from Japan and different companies in Japan that they are talking to. Again, I don't want to give any names, any promotions, anything, but he basically gave me a list, and I sent the list over to Rob. I'm like, if he gets half of these, this is going to be another American Joshi style professional wrestling company. The 3rd or 4th one that we've had in about a year's time, which is just absolutely awesome. And the fact that Rob and I will be providing commentary for these shows, it's like, what an honor. What an absolute honor, my friend. And I'm just so excited to be doing this. I would have done it with anybody. I'm always a yes person. Whatever you need, you let me know. You want to hire me for something? Absolutely. But when I mentioned, hey, if I'm going to do this and you want to accentuate my abilities, the best way to do it is with the person that I do commentary with every week on the Stardom Cast, and that's Rob. And that's why I was like, hey, can I get him? And I thought it was really funny when he was like, can you get him? I'm like, it's not Jim Ross. I'm sure I can figure it out. I just thought that was really funny. So I was like, yeah, he's in. So yeah, partner, I'm really, really excited. It's another awesome opportunity. It really just seems, because of the push of really, this is a big thank you to our listeners, the friends and family of the Stardom Cast. have helped make the show get so big so fast, especially these last, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, that the fact that we're making some noise and the fact that we're putting out a great product, that we're having companies that are, these new companies that are starting, that are showcasing, female wrestlers, especially the Joshi style of wrestling that we all love so much. And the fact that we're going to be the soundtrack for it, like, what an honor, my friend. This is going to be an absolute blast to, call all this with you and to basically be the voices of Pro Wrestling Dream.
Absolutely. Can you get him? Guys, I am anyone's for a packet of Jammy Dodgers. Like, I am not difficult to pin down. But no, it's an incredibly exciting thing. It's something I've always wanted to do, and the fact that we are able to do it with quite a stacked lineup as well. So, if you want to come and listen to Pro Wrestling Dream, you can hear our voices. And, again, we're not going to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of room for growth. So if you've got any ideas or any ways we can improve, then please, we welcome any sort of feedback. Let's kick into some Stardom results then, seeing as we've been going for nearly 50 minutes and haven't actually talked about any shows yet, Matt. We have a tendency to do this, don't we? But the Goddess of Stardom Tag League 2023 continues to roll on. Night 3 and Night 4 are both now in the books, and more importantly, both now up on Stardom World. We're going to start with Night 3, which started on the 22nd of the 10th, 2023, from the Edion Arena, Osaka 2, in front of 486 people. Your results for that show are as follows. In singles action, Lady C defeated Ruaka in 5 minutes and 19 seconds. Tag team match, Micah and Megan Bain defeated the God's Eye team of Amisuri and Saki Kashima in 5 minutes and 23 seconds. We then start with our Goddess of Storm Tag League action, with Crazy Star, Meisera and Suzu Suzuki moving to 5 points, defeating the Maximum Mini team, Hanako and Saya Ida, who remain on 0 points in 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Goddess of Stardom Tag League action again with Blue Block action, Azumi and Miyu Amasaki, O2 line moving to 2 points, defeating the FWC team of Hazuki and Koguma, who also remain on 2 points in 8 minutes and 41 seconds. In your semi-main, the Stars team, Eye Contact, Hanan and Mayu Iwatani move to 4 points, defeating Mei Sakurai and Mirai, who remain on 2 points in 10 minutes and 56 seconds. And then your main event, Red Block action, Oedatai XL, Momo Watanabe and Natsuka Tora continue their 100% record start to this tournament, moving to 4 points, defeating the Mafia Bella team, who remain on 0. Julia and Tekla, with Tekla eating the pinfall in 12 minutes and 58 seconds. So a couple of things to point out from this show. First things first, FWC turned up on time. Perfect. Well done, FWC. Secondly, I agree with you, Matt. I think Mei Sakurai's hat is growing. And thirdly, I believe my exact words about this tag league were that my final is going to be Divine Kingdom against Mafia Bella. Matt Turner, Mafia Bella are 0-2. Because of course they bloody are.
What?
Because of course they are. Because whatever I predict, the opposite must happen. But in all seriousness, these first 3 shows from the Tag League have been incredibly fun, incredibly easy to watch, short, concise matches. Obviously, there's only 15-minute time limits, but even so, because all of the different teams have different dynamics, I don't feel like we get the same match over and over again. You know, we get the comedy of Meisera, for example, or the comedy of Saki Kashima, but then we have the serious brute force of a Wedatai XL, or the calm, collected cool of a Mafia Bella, or just the general badassery of a Divine Kingdom. I think it's quite interesting to have this eclectic mix of teams. And in terms of the tag league for Stardom, something I'm not a massive fan of is breaking up teams that already exist. So, for example, you know, you guarantee that we wouldn't have had, you know, we haven't got the new eras, you know, Amisori and Mirai, former tag team champions. We don't have Wingori in Sayurida and Hanan. However, in spite of that, the randomness of some of the teams has brought about this fresh chemistry and this fresh vibe on some of these cards. And I think this is a great example of that, Matt, because this card, these 4 matches, especially at the end, were really, really fun.
Yeah, real quick, I'm just going to go back to you put yourself down there about 2 minutes ago, and I'm going to be your comforting partner. Super, super positive, Matt Turner. You did make mention, and you're a little hurt. I can hear it in your voice that Mafia Bella, they dropped their first 2, so that you think that's going to ruin your prediction. However, Rob Goodwin, Suzu Suzuki did not fare very well in the early parts of the 5-star Grand Prix, and she won it. Julia did not fare very well in the opening parts of the 5-star Grand Prix, and she won it. Remain confident, good sir. Remain positive.
These are all true.
Yeah, this I think I put up on Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week, just as soon as I got done watching the show. It's like, boy, despite all the injuries, these shows have been fantastic. This tag league has been really, really good, and this show was great. Now, there's nothing on here that's like, you know, you're having back-to-back 5-star matches. It's not All-Star Grand Queendom or the final night of the 5-star Grand Prix last year. But these matches have just been excellent. I mean, Crazy Star versus Saya and Hanako. O2 Line versus FWC. I mean, we'll get into that in a moment. The Eye Contact versus Mirai and Mei Sakurai. And then the hard-hitting match with Momo Watanabe and Natsuko Tora versus Tekla and Julia. And yeah, you made mention that they're kind of, you know, some of these teams are kind of putting together. And some of them they had to put together last minute because of all the injuries. But boy, I would, and I mentioned this on social media, I would love to see Momo and Tor get a run, either going for or win the Gods of Stardom Tag Team Championships, as well as Mayu and Hanan. I mean, Mayu's done everything. I know she's the current IWGP Women's Champion. I know you're maybe saying, well, Matt, it doesn't get defended that much. I understand that. And Hanan's she just turned 19, and you know, we all predict that she's going to be one to pretty much sweep all the belts, very much like a Mayu, a Kairi, and Io. Mayu and Hanan as a 6, 7, 8 month run as the Goddess of Stardom tag team champions against a Tekla and Julia, against an FWC, against a Crazy Star, against a Meltier, against a Saori Poi. I mean, I think those matches would be absolutely great. Again, what else? I mean, Mayu's phenomenal. You can do whatever you want with her. It's going to work. But she hasn't held the Goddess of Stardom tag championship in 3-4 years. I think with Saki Kashima was the last run that she had it with, and I think they were only like a V2, V3. I would love to see Mayu and Hana maybe sometime in 2024 win the Goddess of Stardom tag champions, because they're absolutely fantastic together. But yeah, man, these matches were great, Rob. Before we get into these matches, Lady C gets a W on the opener. What a better way to pop the crowd than get Lady C getting a fluke roll-up over Ruaka. But regardless, a win for Queen's Quest is a win for me. But if it's okay with you, sir, I would like to start with match number 3, which was from the Red Stars block, Crazy Star versus Max Mini.
I'm absolutely fine with that. Sorry, I thought you were just going to carry
No,
on.
I asked for permission. We text today about something. I'm like, I'm going to do this. Is that okay? And you're like, why are you asking me for permission? I ask for permission for everything. If I'm not, one thing is polite, good sir. But yeah, this was great. Obviously, Hanako, she gets better with each and every outing. I mentioned it with her match with Mina Shirakawa about a week or two ago. Her and Saida, again, this is a tag team that, you know, obviously we wanted to see Wingori. They're the New Blood tag champions. Me and you are huge fans of Wingori. At the same time, you're going to split them up. You're putting them with partners that are really, you know, accentuating their positives. Again, I just mentioned with Hanan and Mayu and Saida and Hanako. They're basically, you know, they're fire plugs. They're powerhouses. And we know they're not going to eat a lot of wins. I'll be shocked if they even get one. But their matches are absolutely fantastic. And their chemistry with Suzu and Mei Seira, who, again, I think I say this every week, and I think I'm going to say it every week. They're slowly becoming one of my favorite tag teams in all of wrestling. They've always done that, like, half and half lung blower into, like, the slam thing. And they've done it with, like, Micah, you know, in the 6-person matches with Micah almost, like, vaulting Mei Seira up. But now they've kind of redid it and kind of improved on, not kind of, I'm going to say they improved on it, where Suzu's holding the opponent up and Mei does the lung blower off the second rope, and then Suzu transitions it into the German suplex, which obviously is, you know, one of her finishing moves. And then there's some times if Mei is the legal person, you know, I love the legal person, where now the person's on their back and then Mei will just roll them up with a rolling star or in some sort of fancy roll-up. So I like how they're able to combine that. Again, they've always had, like, right from the get-go, from Suzu first signing with Stardom and Mei coming back to Stardom back in spring of this year, they kind of put them together and like, oh, maybe they're just putting them together because they don't have a faction yet. And they gelled really fast, and they're getting better with each and every outing. I mean, Suzu Suzuki is a low-key MVP for all of wrestling this year, winning the 5-star, winning the Triangle Derby. And the fact that her and Mei Seira are one of, if not the best tag teams in the early going of this tournament was just absolutely fantastic. And, of course, Saeed. You know what you're getting. When this match starts, you're like, I want Saeed versus Suzu Suzuki violence. And we got it, Rob. And we got it. But, yeah, I absolutely love the finish where Suzu hits the tequila shot. Sai is able to kick out. Mei Seira is able to take Hanako out. And then Suzu just deadlifts German suplexes Saeed and plants her right in the mat for the 3 count. Love this match. Great way to start off the tournament part of this show. I actually had it at 3 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it 3.5. I really liked it. There was a great moment where Sayarida is chopping Mei Seira really hard, and Mei Seira's selling it as only Mei Seira can. And Suzu Suzuki just walks up, clonks Sayarida on the head, and whips her into the ropes. And rather than that being the end of the spot, Sayarida then no-sells the Irish whip and chops double-handed Suzu Suzuki. And I do feel like Sayarida is starting to get that something that she really, really needs. Of course, it's always great to see Hanako doing well for herself, and I think especially as she's sort of been thrust into this tag league as the only rookie, as we constantly say, I think she's done a tremendous job. Yeah, this match was heaps of fun, which, again, this entire card was. I did give it 3.5 stars. What about the next match then, Matt? Queen's Quest, the O2 Line team defeating the FWC team of Hazuki and Koguma. I personally did not see this coming at all. I also thought Miyu Amasaki would do the majority of the heavy lifting, with Azumi sort of coming back off that, rest. However, neither of those things were true. Azumi was in the ring for a long, long time, and those sequences between her and Hazuki were fantastic. But big up to Miyu Amasaki, because I thought the stuff she did with Hazuki, the person who trained her, don't forget, I think was absolutely tremendous and highlights just how much she has improved in a short space of time, Matt.
Rob, out of the 3 shows we're going to be talking about, this is my favorite match of the 3 shows. I absolutely love this match. Now, my very first note, Rob, as I have to make mention that Hazuki and Koguma, when they came out, there was a fan that greeted them with roses. And I just said, oh, that was really nice. I thought maybe he just a fan. But then I realized, I think maybe the fan was just happy that they came out on time instead of waiting 7-8 minutes for the music to play. So he's so ecstatic that he bought roses and then gave them to FWC. But I thought that was a cool little thing. It's, I love seeing fan interactions with wrestlers. I thought that was something really cool. I mentioned on the podcast quite a bit that I don't have a favorite wrestler in all of wrestling, but if I was forced to give a favorite wrestler, it would be Hazuki. She's fantastic, obviously. I don't think there's anybody that would disagree with me there. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that she's never won the white or red belt and how she puts 110% into everything. But I'll say this, Rob. Azumi's right behind her. I think Azumi is I've said this since I first watched Azumi wrestle about 2 years ago. I think she's very special. She's fantastic in the ring. She's improving constantly. One of the things I've noticed, and I noticed a little bit last year with the O2 line stuff, and I've noticed it in this match. It's one thing when you're a wrestler, 21 years old and 25 years in the business. I'm joking, but like it's not that far off. when you can get your stuff over, right? When you can get your stuff over that young in the business, and Azumi's a very special talent. The way what she does, where she does, the fact she can able to do those moves and just look so crisp, clear with it, and that she adds psychology and she can sell, and she's getting, for someone who's already one of the best wrestlers in the world, it's constantly improving. It's one thing when you get your stuff over. It's another thing when you get your opponent's stuff over. And again, in this match, it's Hazuki and Kagwa. They really don't need a boost and anybody making them look good. But at the same time, it takes two to tango. But again, Azumi makes Hazuki and Kagama look better than they normally do. FWC is one of the best teams in Stardom the last 2 years. It's another thing when you take a relatively new wrestler like Miyu Amasaki and you know where to put her stuff to make her look best. And what I mean, and I don't know who's putting these matches together, but I'm just going in my head of somebody that's been around some of the best tag teams in the last 20 years and watched them put together matches, and me being a tag wrestler and putting together my stuff with Team Blue and Gold with Andy Header, where I'm assuming when Azumi and Miyu are putting their stuff together is that Miyu may have an idea or two, but Azumi knows where to put it. Miyu Amasaki is one of the most improved wrestlers in all of wrestling the last 5 or 6 months. Her matches are so much better. And again, they're great when they're singles or they're multi-person. When it's just her and Azumi as O2 line, the matches are so much better. And I think because Azumi knows where to take Miyu's spots and where to go with them, where they're going to get Miyu the best reaction, where it's going to make the most sense. So long-winded, I'm trying to say not only is Azumi great getting her stuff over, getting her opponent's stuff over, but when you can take somebody else's stuff in your tag match and make her stuff look better. Now, when she's teaming with Utami and Sai Kamatani, she doesn't need to do that. I mean, she can have her input. She doesn't need to do that because Sai Kamatani and Utami, two of the best wrestlers in the world. But when you're taking Miyu Amasaki and a wrestler that's already improving and making her look like she's a 5-6 year vet, because I'm assuming that she knows where to put Miyu's stuff, all the kudos in the world to Azumi. But yeah, man, this match was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, you had a lot of high-speed stuff with Hazuki, Kagama, Azumi, obviously 3 veterans of the high-speed style. Miyu Amasaki, again, for her stuff in this match, I thought she was great. The teamwork with her and Azumi is flawless. It's excellent. It's really, really good stuff. Obviously, of course, it's Hazuki, so Hazuki, you're going to get Hazuki mode. And of course, we did here. All of her stuff was really good. And literally to the point where I thought FWC was going to get a win here with Miyu Amasaki eating the pinfall. But there was so much back and forth that I started having a little doubt. Which when you kind of have an idea where it's going and then you're not sure, and then they really pull the wool over the eye, because then you're figuring, okay, eventually something's going to happen with Miyu. She's going to hit with either the brain buster or the top rope splash. You figured that'd be the finish. But no, I was a big fan of that Azumi was able to escape the brain buster, hit the Canadian Destroyer into the Azumi Sushi combination for the 3 count. Again, Rob, this is my favorite match of the 3 shows we're going to talk about, 4.25 stars.
Wow. I gave it 3 3/4. Again, despite Azumi and Hazuki just being as captivating as they are, I was mesmerized by the improvement in Miyu Amasaki and how much more calm she feels in the ring. Because at times, before she went out for that break period, which I think was with injury, she could be a bit skittish in ring. She would sort of throw herself into moves that she couldn't quite do, or she'd look a little bit over nervous. I think of everyone that debuted, she was the one where I could see nerves. That's completely gone now. And that team of O2 line, I noticed it on New Blood 11 during that triple threat tag match in the main event, and I noticed it even more here, just the seamless tag work of these two. And I don't know whether that is because Mia was attempting to recapture the title of leader or interim leader of Queen's Quest with Azumi coming back now, and she was just looking to impress, or whether it's just because they're just both very good wrestlers. But either way, this was a fantastic match, one of the best matches of the Tag League so far, which again, I feel like I'm saying every episode. But yeah, of the shows that we are going to be talking about today. I'd say there's probably 3 matches that you have to go out of your way to see, and I'd argue this is certainly one of them. Definitely go and check this one out. Eye Contact versus Mai Sakurai and Mirai. I enjoyed this in the same way that I enjoyed O2 Line and FWC, but mainly because of Hanan. And I never thought I'd say that in a match with Mayu Iwatani, who is, without question, my favourite wrestler. I just feel like Hanan is hitting another level at the moment with her confidence. And the fact that she is on more shows, not having to go to school, should I say, I think she's really growing in this sort of presence. And I think the way she took the fight to Mirai, especially in this match, was indicative of where she's going. You called them the Icon Tag Team. And I think it's really clear that Hanan has got that special something that not every wrestler has. And it was really evident here in those exchanges with Mirai. And Mai Sakurai's fantastic. I love Mai Sakurai. The fact that she's shedding feathers as she attempts to get through the ring. She seems to grow more clothing every time she gets into that coat. Seems to grow to the point where she actually struggled to get through the ropes to get into the ring. And I do love that's one of the tag teams where the sort of misfits, the whole randomness of this tag league. Mai Sakurai and Mirai, one of those oddball pairings that have worked. You've got the straight, just passionate soul of wrestling Mirai and this arrogant ladyship character in Mai Sakurai, and somehow they make it work. And then you've just got the 2 icons who just throw each other at everything. I really thoroughly enjoyed this match. This was another one I do urge you to go and check out. I gave it 3 3/4 stars again.
Rob, we made mention on this podcast because of all the wrath of injuries going on with Stardom that at Stardom we find they're probably not going to draw as much as they used to, but the shows are still going to be quality because of the depth of the roster. Again, no Utami, no Sai Kamatani. Uzumi just came back. No Natsupoi. Tam's on the shelf for a little bit. Starlight Kid. But I got to say, we basically just said the shows are still going to be good, regardless of all those wrath of injuries, because how deep the roster is. You mentioned Miyu Amasaki. You talk about Mai Sakurai just becoming a completely different character in the ring. And we all know Hanan is good, but we did say that you're going to start seeing some members of the roster step up their game even more to fill the void of not having those big stars on. And I don't think anybody's done it more in the past month than Hanan. But yeah, absolutely, she looks great. Her and Mayu's teamwork is absolutely fantastic. And the fact that they're highlighting her in all these matches, especially towards the end of the the end of the match, the end of the match. I love how this match started with Mayu and Hanan doing some phenomenal double teamwork on the Mai Sakurai, and then Mirai's like, okay, well, I got to get the advantage back. And she just comes in and just beats up, just clovers Hanan and Mayu. I'm like, that makes sense, right? That's like what she's good at. Some really good stuff there. But then obviously Mayu and Hanan, they just use their teamwork to get the advantage back. Mai Sakurai does the showstopper stunner combination onto both Hanan and Mayu, which I thought was a great way to showcase her in this match. And a really good closing stretch with Hanan and Mai Sakurai, considering the fact that, Mirai is the Wonder of Stardom champion. Mayu is the IWGP champion. You could have very easily put one of them in there with the other. Obviously, we knew Mirai wasn't going to eat a fall, and Mayu is not going to eat a fall, considering the fact that they're both at the top of the card, and they both have championship matches coming up, in respective shows and respective countries. But they did a really good job. It was like, Mayu and Mirai basically kind of took each other out. And Hanan and Mai Sakurai had this little mini match with Mayu and Mirai interfering a little bit there. But basically, we're going to highlight the two kind of juniors of the match. It's a really cool spot where Hanan hits this beautiful Hanan special. I thought that was going to be the finish, but Mai Sakurai kicks out, and a lot of people, the crowd, and I want to preface, the crowd for this show was really, really well. They were really into it. They were into everything from start to finish, and they bid on that falsie really good, so much that it actually added to the match. But then Hanan stays with it. She doesn't get flustered. She hits their wrist clutch backdrop driver for the 3 count. Fantastic match. All four of these ladies were fantastic. And again, Hanan is she's improving obviously, but the fact that she's really stepping up her game due to the absence of some of these other main eventers is just going to put a bigger shine onto her star, pun intended, to one Hanan. I agree with you. The star rating, my friend, 3 3/4 stars. This was an excellent match. And again, I'll go back to what I said a few minutes ago that I would love to see Mayu and Hanan get a run with those Goddess of Stardom tag belts in 2024.
And then finally, obviously, Mafia Bella versus Oedetai XL. Starlight Kid out seconding Oedetai XL. That's always good. Means that hopefully, fingers crossed, we are close to Starlight Kid returning. It looked like she was walking on the ankle okay. Didn't appear to have it strapped. So fingers crossed on an early return for Kid. What did you think of this one, Matt? I quite enjoyed the brutality of some of the exchanges, especially between Momo and Julia. It's a match I want to see so badly again, that singles match, just with these two striking the ever-loving Jimmy out of each other. But again, Tekla, MVP of this match. She did so much of the heavy lifting. Yes, she took the pin again, second match in a row, but I think that she's really growing into this role, and she's someone that I feel that could be elevated up the card. I mean, if we were to say, maybe not for Dream Queendom, but for
Cinderella,
the February show, the February pay-per-view, whatever that may be, if you were to say that Tekla versus, whether it is Mirai, whether it's Mina Shirakawa, whether it's Suzuki that hold the white belt, if you were to say Tekla's the next one in line to have a shot, I'd be more than up for that, because she's proved regularly that she is just more than capable of elevating herself to that level, which I'm really, really excited about.
Again, my friend, we talked about Hanan stepping up, and Tekla's, right there with her, neck and neck again, as far as, okay, we need to really make sure that everybody that pays a ticket to see this show, regardless of who or who's not here, they need to get quality wrestling. And Tekla has absolutely stepped up. I was a little shocked again, very much like the FWC O2 line match, which is what's great about these tournaments. Is you kind of don't have an idea who's winning, but you figure, it's the main event. They always do the promo afterwards. It's going to be Julie and Tekla. Send the fans home happy. And I was shocked by the finish. And I by no means was I disappointed. Obviously a huge fan of Tora, and I'm a ginormous fan of one Momo Watanabe. But I've noticed Tekla, she does now this new move, and it really gets in the give opportunity to really pop the crowd, where she does the spider superplex, where it's basically she does a superplex, but she locks her feet in, and she'll do and she does this in tag matches, which is brilliant. She'll do the suplex. Her opponent will hit the mat and sometimes roll out for a breather, and then Julia and whoever else will be on the outside. Tekla will then sit up and then go to the top rope, and then that's her opportunity to have the crowd settle for what she just did and what she's about to do, because then she plays to the crowd on the two sides of the ring that she's at and gets the crowd to pop. And she hits this almost like Hiroshi Tanahashi, beautiful a plancha to the floor. I mean, the height she gets, the way she's able to kind of, spread herself out there. I mean, it's really a sight to see. And it is very important that there's a lot of people to catch her, because she gets a lot of height on this dive. And again, it's just another kind of something awesome that she's added into her moveset. And her strikes have gotten crisper, more hard hitting. They're placed psychology wise in better spots. Not they were bad before, but just like the forearms and the kicks. And her and Julia, they do that forearm sandwich where they yell out a phrase that I can't yell on this podcast because we are a G-rated podcast. It just adds to the badassery that is not only Tekla but Julia. I liked on the beginning of this match, Tekla just outclasses Momo with like high-speed offense, and then I'm like, okay, I think I know what's going to happen. Momo and Tora just get frustrated, and they take Tekla to the outside, and Rob, it's a Oedetai, so what do they got to do?
They have to Oedetai.
Yeah, absolutely. Julia and Tora, they wind up just hard hitting all throughout the crowd. Obviously, Julia and Tekla, they're not going to back down from the fight at all. So they're able to hang pretty well with the brawl with Team XL. It's a really great tag team work from Momo and Tora, considering the fact that, Tora was basically, when she came back from her injury last year, was more or less teaming with Ruaka, and Momo had the phenomenal tag team with Starlight Kid as Black Desire. So they're really not regular tag partners, but really quickly they're gelling really, really well together. So it's really, really nice to see. And again, I loved how Tekla, towards the end of the match, she locks in the Black Widow. But of course, all 84 members of a Widow tie need to distract the ref. We get a bat shot that leads to a B driver that only gets a 2 count. And then they basically double team to take Julia out. And then Team XL, they basically hit that big assisted spine buster onto, which is cool because it's on the assisted spine buster. It's Tora that's doing the big damage move, and she's not legal. So she hits it, and then she runs right back out in order to take Julia out to block out the leader of this tag team, leader DDM, to let Momo Watanabe basically finish Tekla off with the Inhumane Driver. Again, another great match. Obviously, we know Mafia Bella's great. Tekla's getting better, and love this pairing of Momo and Tora. A great match, great way to end the show, especially the fact that I thought that it was going to be a Mafia Bella win. But I enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed the last match, 3 3/4 stars.
So let's move on then. So before we talk about the remaining night of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, because again, I haven't actually had a chance to see it yet, so Matt's going to run down that for you. I just want to talk a little bit about Fighting Spirit Unleashed, which was the New Japan Strong pay-per-view from Las Vegas, Nevada. The reason that I want to talk about that is for 2 matches. We'll talk about the title match first. The New Japan Strong Women's title match. Julia, the champion, achieving her 5th successful title defense, defeating the challenger Hyan in 12 minutes and 3 seconds with the Northern Lights bomb. Now, Matt, how much of this show did you manage to get to see?
Just this match. Just the Julia Hyan match.
And what, I don't know about you, it's the first time I've seen Hyan. I thought she gelled really, really well with Julia. What did you think?
Yeah, it looked like in the beginning, I don't know if it was a timing issue or maybe just get the nerves out, but there was maybe a half a step off between the two of them, maybe the first minute or two. And then it seemed like once they got going, the crowd really got into it, and then they really seemed to sync up really well. Julia was very much like in Philadelphia, was crazy over with the Las Vegas crowd. Julia is very over with the U.S. fan base, that is for sure. And then Hyan, especially towards the final few moments of this match, she is absolutely fantastic. Somebody to watch out for. And Rob, I would be ecstatic if in 2024 she gets a Stardom run, because I would love to see her in the ring with Hanan versus a rematch here with Julia against a Tekla. I think she'd have a great match with Azumi. She'd have a great match with Momo Watanabe. I really hope that, obviously this is a match that Stardom and Bushi Road were watching for obvious reasons. It was their show with their wrestler and their champion on. But I think that'd be one where they can look at and be like, you know what, maybe we should bring her in for a Stardom tour for 4 months or 6 months or 7 months or 8 months and, see how she does, because obviously she was great here. She'll only improve like we've seen with the Mariah May if they give her an extended tour into Stardom. I think the match was great, very hard hitting. The crowd was into everything. A lot of this is awesome chants. Very solid match. I had it at 4 stars. Absolutely loved it.
I think I had it 3.5. I thought Hyan has got all the makings of what could be a fantastic wrestler. She's got the strength, she's got the power, she's got the athleticism, she's got the speed. We saw her muscling Julia into these incredibly high impact moves, like when Julia went for the double underhook, the super sort of butterfly suplex from the top rope, and Hyan standing straight up and hitting her with the Falcon Arrow. Thought that was incredible. And then you look at the way she's willing to dive through the ropes. She's willing to do the suicide dive. And I thought she was over with the crowd. She connected with the crowd. But Julia was just on a different level, as we expected her to be. She is a huge star in Japan, and she is getting there in the US, because that reaction to Julia during the match was pretty phenomenal. There were very, very loud chants for her. So there are people that know her. For all the Jim Cornettes who don't know who Julia is, there is an absolute abundance of people who are fully behind Julia and fully see that star quality that she has, because she oozed it here. And I think you're absolutely right, Matt. Again, we talk about it all the time. I do not know how difficult it is to put together a match against someone who doesn't speak your language. I know we spoke to Jessie about this during our interview, and she said, it's what we do. We just get in there and we do it, and it becomes second nature. And, that's testament to both women. But Hyan looked really special. Julia looked incredible. And that's really something. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more Julia in the States, even after she drops that strong women's championship, whoever that may be too. We also had on this card what was effectively a CMLL women's tag match as an exhibition to show off some of their women's division. And that was Stephanie Vaca, Zeuxis, Johnny Robbie, and Luvia. I've probably butchered those names. I think I butchered them during the preview show as well. This was a good match, but Stephanie Vaca, who we've seen on the Resurgence show, she was part of the original tournament to crown the first Strong Women's champion, which of course was won by Willow Nightingale. Stephanie Vaca was a part of that, and she got a lot of plaudits for that, but I still didn't know a great deal about her. And the more I've seen people talk about her, the more people talk of her in the highest of high regards. And there was some great stuff in this match, and Stephanie Vaca was at the centre of the vast majority of it. We talk about how Hyan has that special something. Stephanie Vaca is already there. I truly believe if she was part of a bigger company than CMLL, no disrespect to CMLL, no disrespect to Mexican wrestling or whatever, but if Stephanie Vaca was a member of let's say a brand with more exposure than CMLL, I think that's fair, she'd be a huge star. Because she was fantastic. She carried herself with charisma. She was seamless in the ring, and she just seemed to hold the crowd in the palm of her hands. Everything good in this match went through her, and that's no disrespect. I thought Zeuxis was really good. I thought Luvia was fantastic. But Stephanie Vaca was a real star in this match, and someone that I am actively searching out more matches of. And the reason I'm sort of focusing on Stephanie Vaca is because post-match, as was sort of alluded to on the preview show that we did last week, she made a challenge to Mayu Iwatani for the IWGP Women's Championship. That has now been made official. So on the 10th of November at Lone Star Shootout in Garland, Texas, Stephanie Vaca versus Mayu Iwatani for the IWGP Women's Championship. Now, I know that Mayu wrestled on the Rumble on 44th Street against Killing King, and that was a good match. I expect this to be another level, because I think when you've got someone who is as brilliant as Mayu Iwatani is in ring, and then someone who's got the talent and the lucha libre moveset that Vaca does, you are looking at a match that could be very, very special if it's given enough time. If this is given 15 minutes, we could be talking about a very, very, very good match, Matt.
Yeah, again, I've only seen a little bit of Stephanie, but I have a lot of people ranting raving how good she is, and considering the fact that she is part of CMLL, and that Rocky Romero does book some of the CMLL talent, helping Tony Khan out over AEW. Would not be shocked to see her do a couple shots over, for AEW and get her more exposure, as you said before. I want to put you on the spot, partner, and I apologize if you do not know this answer. I'm assuming Stephanie went over in this match.
I believe she did.
Okay,
yes.
So my next question would be, what was? I just wondering what she uses as a finish. I just want to know what her finish is.
Oh, what was it? Was it a package pile driver?
It is now a package pile driver. We are going to say that's what it is.
I can't remember. That's really going to annoy me. Let me have a look. What did she use?
While you're looking,
German suplex.
Oh, there it is. Okay, that was fast, buddy. You're the fastest fingers in Stoke right there, buddy. That's you.
There you go. She pinned Johnny Robbie, because I know that Johnny Robbie was sort of the greener of the 4 women. I don't think Johnny Robbie's been in CMLL as long as the others.
Yep. And I know I mentioned this last week. I know that a couple of our listeners in the Texas area did saying they're going to that New Japan show. Please, by all means, send us notes. Give us some live notes, and we will talk about them on the air, and you'll get a free little shout out here from one Mr. Matt Turner and Rob Goodwin.
Absolutely. And just quickly, the rest of that card for Lone Star Shootout has also been announced. And spoilers for those that haven't or don't know the results from Fighting Spirit Unleashed, you might just want to skip ahead a couple of seconds because that show sort of funnels into Lone Star Shootout. I've given everyone enough time now. So, Toriano versus Joey Janela, Mystico versus TJP, Herculeo and ELP will defend the Strong Tag Champions against Jorel Nelson and Royce Isaacs. Strong Openweight Championship match, Eddie Kingston defending against Satoshi Kojima. That's going to be great. Speaking of great, the World Television title will also be on the line. Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Speedball Mike Bailey. IWGP Women's Championship, Mayu Iwatani versus Stephanie Vaca. And then the Never Openweight Championship will be on the line. The new champion, Shingo Takagi, taking on Trent Beretta. And then still scheduled, but not in matches at the moment, Jon Moxley, David Finlay, Ultimate Guerrero, and Kenta. Matt, I know we use the word stacked quite often, but Jesus Christ, this is a stacked card.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew of a few of those matches, especially Kojima and Eddie Kingston, which that's going to be. It's going to be the two of them just standing in the middle of the ring hitting each other, which I'm all for. I am all for. But yeah, this is one that, again, just due to time constraints, I was only able to watch the Julia match. But this is one that I'm going to try as best as possible to set apart some time to watch a majority of this show because that sounds excellent, especially Speedball versus Zack Sabre Jr. That's going to be fantastic. Because it's like Jon Moxley, one of the most known wrestlers in the world, is like, yeah, he's on the card. Yeah. That's his match. Just goes to show how crazy stacked this card is. So, yeah, this is something that I'm very looking forward to. And I believe this is the week before the Gold Rush show, correct?
It is indeed.
Wow. We got a fantastic 7-8 day stretch of pro wrestling that week, my friend. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about these last 2 shows. We're going to be talking about night 4 of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. This happened on the same day as Fighting Spirit Unleashed. This was in Numazu, Shizuoka, Japan, in front of 362 people. No Julia on the card. Obviously, she was in Las Vegas. And no Ami Souri on this card, who I believe was at a funeral. The results are as follows. And then, as I said, Matt is going to take you briefly through this card before we talk about the Halloween show. So, Tekla defeated Miyu Amasaki in 8 minutes and 12 seconds in a singles match. Azumi dispensed with Ruaka in 7 minutes and 29 seconds. Eye Contact, then Hanan and Mayu Iwatani defeated Hanako and Mirai in non-tag league action in 8 minutes and 47 seconds. In the only tag league match on this card, the God's Eye team of Saki Kashima and Syuri moved to 4 points, defeating Moonlight Dream, Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama, who stay on 2 points in 11 minutes and 7 seconds. In your semi-main, Ueda Tai XL, Momo Watanabe and Natsuka Tora defeated the Donna Del Mondo team of Maika and Mei Sakurai in 10 minutes and 57 seconds. And then in your main event was a 6-woman tag match. Megan Bain, Mei Seira, Suzu Suzuki defeated the Stars team of Hazuki Koguma and Saya Ida in 11 minutes and 47 seconds. And Matt Turner, we saw a new finisher for Mei Seira, did we not?
Yeah, it was basically an Indian deathlock into an SDF version, which was really cool how she got into it. She again, Mei Seira knowing where she needs to be at all times. When she went to go lock it in onto Saida, she realized she was close to the ropes. So then she relocked it in and then rolled back away from the ropes, which I thought was really cool. So Mei Seira, who basically, when she came back, she pinned Azumi
on All-Star Grand Queendom with the Rolling Star, and then started using a low running dropkick as a finish. Okay, I guess it kind of works. And then we've seen her use the Hammerlock Liger Bomb, and now we have this really cool Indian Deathlock into an SDF version. Really cool, just adding more tools to one May Sarah. And again, for Stardom coming off a phenomenal year in 2022, it's like really all they got to do is keep the course. They really don't need to add anything to make it better. But May Sarah, who hasn't wrestled in 2 years, comes in the most stacked roster in all of wrestling and is really standing out. So kudos to her. Kudos to her. But yes, sir, I guess, and I will run through this card then real fast if that's okay with you, sir.
You go for it,
All right,
Matt Turner.
Tekla and Miyu Amasaki. Again, we talked about the improvement of Miyu Amasaki. She looked great here. Tekla did a great job leading her throughout the way. Solid opener, 3.5 stars. Azumi and Ruaka. What more can I say about Azumi? She's absolutely fantastic, and she made Ruaka look like a beast here. I knew that Ruaka was not going to get the pinfall here, but there was 2 occasions that I thought that Ruaka was going to win because that's how convincing Azumi was. This was a great match, and it completely blew away my expectations. 3 3/4 stars. Excellent match. Match number 3, Eye Contact versus Mirai and Hanako. Again, another excellent showing from Mayu and Hanan. The way they gel together as a team. Mirai here was great. Her stuff with Mayu was terrific. Hanako seems to improve quite a bit. Again, this was a solid match. I had 3.5 stars, but Rob, I do have to make a mention. This isn't something to go out of your way. But however, I know you're the biggest fan of Mayu Iwatani, so I need to make mention what happens at the tail end of this match. So, Hanan rolls up Hanako with a 17 roll-up. And perfect job by the cameraman, whether it's intentional or not. But you see the roll-up happen on the bottom right hand of the screen. You see Mirai locking Mayu in the rear naked choke. The sleeper hold, right? 1, 2, 3. The match is over. Mirai can't get, because it's a flash roll-up, cannot get to the ring in time to break up the pinfall. Hanan's celebrating. She has the win, but Mayu's still selling the choke out. She's coughing, and so Hanan is leaning over to where Mayu is and jumping up and down. Obviously, the phenomenal thing of Hanan is playing. Everybody's happy, and she's trying to get Mayu's attention, and Mayu is purposely not looking at Hanan to sell the sleeper hold that happened 2 minutes prior. The match is over, Mayu. So it was just a Mayu thing. If it was any other wrestler, you'd be like, whatever. But it's Mayu. The fact that then she looks up at Hanan, and she's like, oh, we won? And Han's like, yeah, 2 minutes ago. Where were you? I just thought that was the most Mayu thing ever. Mayu's got a Mayu. The goddess match with Shuri and Saki versus Mina and Waka. Again, the phenomenal chemistry here of Saki Kachima trying to be the most badass person in the ring, talks all that crap, but once the bell ring can't back it up. So she basically says, I want to start the match, and I want to start with you, Mina. And Shuri's like, okay, no problem. Basically tells Mina, put your hands up. Like, you had this UWF style match with my partner a few weeks ago. We're going to go shoot style. The bell rings. She turns around. She tags in Shuri. And next thing you know, Saki's in the 4th row. Shuri's like, I guess. So I thought that was great. Shuri and Mina, they're great. I mean, what can you more say? Shuri's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Mina's the most improved wrestler, from 2021 to 2022 and into 2023. Mina's just absolutely fantastic. Their stuff here was great. Waka and Mina, I noticed that they do a lot of the Gold Rose tag stuff that Mina, Mariah, and May did. And I kind of understand what they were trying to go for. It's not as crisp as it was Mariah and May. That just goes to show the instant chemistry Mariah and Mina had. But it's still really good. I do like how towards the end of this match with, it's building towards Shuri and Waka. So it's going to end with poor death to poor Waka. But there's this one spot where Mina gets in the ring after taking out Saki, and she hits a roaring elbow on the Saki, and then Waka does the double underhook slide, the one that she used to beat Nana Takahashi. And Shuri does a great job of kicking out like 2.99, and a lot of the crowd bid on that falsie. I was like, oh my God, is Waka going to pin Shuri? And the crowd bid on it. Really cool spots, though, with Saki when she does get in the ring and Shuri does talk her into it. She does go strike for strike pretty well with Mina. And Saki, we've mentioned this on the podcast about a year or so ago, partner. And Saki's a very underrated striker. And obviously she's doing the comedy and the high-speed stuff. But we're seeing Shuri bring that out more. She does some really good kicks. She hits this really awesome rising palm strike that I thought was really good. Ultimately, though, it's Shuri with the head kick and the grounded Suzaku for the tap out to give Shuri and Saki 2 more points in the tournament. 3 3/4 stars. Match number 5 with Micah and May Sakurai versus Team XL, Momo and Tora. Now, Rob, I just want to make mention. I gotta be positive. At the same time, I have to be honest. I was very upset. May Sakurai, she did not come out with a hat on this show. Like, why are you not coming out with your gimmick? And they came out to May Sakurai's theme, and she's teaming with Micah. So you figured, okay, she's got to have the biggest hat in the world. No hat, buddy. No hat. Match, though, was really good. Obviously, Momo and Micah they tearing it up. They just I mentioned this on social media. That's like booking Stone Cold Steve Austin for your show, and he doesn't hit the stunner or drink beer. What's the point? You know what I mean? I felt robbed, sir. I felt robbed. Really solid stuff again, Momo and Tora. We talked about it. They're just so well as a team. Again, Momo and Micah almost picking up where they left off in their 5-star match. The two of them just tearing into each other. But ultimately, it's Momo hitting the Inhumane Driver onto May Sakurai for the 3 count. I remain if May Sakurai came out with the hat, it may have protected her for that move that happened 10 minutes later, and she may have kicked out. Again, that's just me. And then, the main event was excellent. Megan Bain, Suzu Suzuki, and May Sierra, they worked so well together as a team. Obviously, you have Saida, Hazuki, and Kagama. And I was wondering how this was going to work, because once it gets to the Megan Bain part of this match, she destroys Saida, she destroys Kagama, and then Hazuki gets in the ring. I was like, I wonder if Hazuki's going to go full Hazuki mode. Hazuki goes to attack Megan Bain and then realizes she begs off. And I was like, that's not Hazuki at all. However, 4 or 5 minutes later, Hazuki just can't help herself. She just goes full Hazuki mode on Megan Bain. It doesn't go as well as you think, but at the same time, God bless her for trying. Excellent stuff. Obviously, Suzu and May work so well together. And with having Megan Bain in there, that's just terrific as well. We did get a little bit of a mini almost tag match with Crazy Star and FWC, which is a match I really, really want to see. They teased a little. They had a couple single things going on with Suzu and Hazuki. Obviously, we saw Suzu and Hazuki at the 5-star last year, and this year we saw more here. And then they would sprinkle in Kagama coming in and May coming in, and you would see a little bit of the tag match there, a tag match that I really want to see. But ultimately, yes, it was May Sarah getting the tap out win with a new version of the basically an STF, a modified version on Saida. Great match, great way to end the show. 3 3/4 stars.
And there you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. What a lovely, concise little rundown from you, Matt. Let's talk then about this Halloween show, which I think it's fair to say, Matt, will certainly go down in the annals of Stardom history as a show that happened. Takikawa Stage Garden, 29th of October, in front of 1,116 people, which is a fantastic turnout when you consider the card that was announced, and it was very clear very, very soon that it was going to be more of a Stardom and Showcase show than the actual pay-per-view quality that we expect from Stardom. And what I want to make very clear is that we don't go into this show with the same sort of expectations as we would a Dream Queendom or a 5-star final or, any of the other serious Stardom pay-per-views.
Speak for yourself.
That go on.
Speak for yourself, sir.
Yes, absolutely. That zombie tag match between Dump Matsumoto and Zap against Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama. Mwah! Tokyo Dome 5 stars, my friend. But, what was clear throughout this entire show was how much fun the roster had. And I think that's key here. They were given a gimmick and they just ran with it. They were themselves, and Jesus, even things that went wrong. Tekla, I thought at one point, had fallen into hell. She'd just fallen off the ramp, which was hilarious. Then got shot with a cannon. Bits of this show were legitimately laugh out loud funny. Is it a show that I would actively encourage every Stardom fan to seek out? No. If you didn't see this show, you didn't really miss anything, apart from a decent opening tag match from the Tag League. But if you want to see Stardom wrestlers seeing bits of themselves come forward out of the gimmick and just seeing wrestlers having the best time, that coffin explosion match, Mayu, you can see, is just having the best time ever. Hazuki is having the time of her life. Mai Sakurai coming out as Darth May. Fantastic. Brilliant stuff. Suzu Suzuki running around with a cannon. Saori Anu scaring Syuri into the 5th row of the Takikawa Stage Garden with a bag of fake spiders. Brilliant. Saki Kashima pointing to the other side of the arena so she can steal some of Syuri's Halloween chocolate. Just little bits like that. It's a show that warms the soul. Again, it's not match quality that you'll go out of your way to see. You've got Dump Matsumoto in this match, who is damn near immobile at this point. But, again, there are bits of this show that genuinely make me smile. And it's because of that I can't talk negatively about this show. Despite some of it being nonsensical nonsense, I still found myself enjoying bits of this show, Matt.
Yeah, I'm considering. I didn't know what the turnout was until you mentioned the number, but I thought, for a show that's basically, again, Stardom and Showcase, the fact that they drew over 1,000 people, kudos to Stardom. So for anybody that is saying, oh, Stardom's on the decline, they put this show on and did over 1,000 people. Yeah, this was not your 5-star Grand Prix opening or final night by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't Dream Queendom by any stretch of the imagination. Did this need to be a pay-per-view, Rob? Probably not. Could they put this on YouTube for free? Probably. If they were going to make it a pay-per-view, could they made it like, hey, it's going to be a $9.99 special? No problem. I will say this, though, Mr. Rob Goodwin. If me and you were in Japan for this show and we paid $50 per ticket, and then another $50 per alcoholic beverages, or $50 in alcoholic beverage that we consumed, so we spent $100 a piece going to the show and getting lit up, and then got home safely with an Uber driver, of course, would we have enjoyed, would this been worth $100 for? Absolutely. This was a show that was a lot of fun. And if I think anybody that was there live, it seemed like they had the time of their life between getting candy thrown and exploding coffins and whatnot. And again, this was almost like a blow off steam thing for the Stardom wrestlers. You're just coming off this 5-star Grand Prix. You're in the midst of this Goddess of Stardom tournament. You have a major pay-per-view with a major announcement coming up in about 2 weeks' time. And then you're going to go back to back on shows with the Tokyo Dome, or the show at right outside the Tokyo Dome, and the show the week Dream pressure that are on these Stardom wrestlers. This was a blow-off steam show. It was fun. Everybody had a good time. It was nice seeing everybody had a good time. Again, this would be a show that I think that I would appreciate more if I was in the crowd, because it just seemed like the crowd and the wrestlers were having one big party, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much the best way of describing this show. It's a time to let the wrestlers blow off steam. Let's go through the results then, and then we'll sort of talk about some edited highlights of some of the things going on. So we started with Goddess of Stardom Tag League. Red block action, the Prominence team of Aragi Karumi and Risa Seira moving to 3 points, defeating the God's Eye team of Saki Kashima and Syuri, who stay on 4 points in 9 minutes and 24 seconds. The Zombie Rumble match was won by Super Strong Stardom Machine, of course, who we don't know who that is. The identity is completely classified. Fuking Death was also in it. Karma, Ram Kaichow, Super Strong Big Machine, Super Strong Stardom Giant Machine 2 made her debut. It's rumoured that is Hanako, but we don't know. Zombie A, Zombie B, and Zombie C were also in the match, but Matt, perhaps most prevalently making her debut, or making her re-debut, should I say, is Sexy Dynamite Princess. Now, I don't want to say that I am good at predictions, because I'm not. I think I've made that abundantly clear over the 144 episodes we've made. However, I did call that Hanan was going to be the new Sexy Dynamite Princess, and wouldn't you know it, someone who looked extraordinarily like Hanan debuted in this Rumble. And Jesus Christ, can we just talk about how much she nailed Mariah May's mannerisms? Like, she had it down to a T. But yeah, we'll talk about that Rumble in a moment, because just absolute carnage. The Zombie Lumberjack match, Dun Matsumoto and Zap defeated Mina and Waka in 8 minutes and 33 seconds in a match. A trick or treat anywhere falls count anywhere match. Suzu Suzuki carries on her winning ways, defeating Meisei, Momo Watanabe, and Tekla in 8 minutes and 18 seconds. Halloween Weapons 4-way match. Saori Ano defeated Hazuki, Mei Sakurai, and Natsuko Tora in 11 minutes and 29 seconds. In the semi-main, Halloween Mask, who turned out to be, of all people, Ruaka, versus Mariah, ended in a no contest in 4 minutes and 35 seconds when Awedatai beat the living hell out of Mirai. And then finally, in the Coffin Explosion 4-way match. So this was billed as, I thought it was Mayu against 3 different Crows, but apparently...
So did I, buddy. I literally had my notes, Mayu versus the Crows, and then once the match started, I was like, I crossed it out. I'm like, it's a 4-way. So once again, we were wrong, but wrong together, brother. Solidarity.
But it seemed that there was 2 winners in this match, which completely confused me. And then there was a random 5th entrant, but the Crows turned out to be Megan Bain, making her Stardom return, and Micah, which, okay, cool. And then Rossy Ogawa was randomly inserted into the match. They put him in the coffin with Mayu to great applause. The crowd were properly behind Rossy. And that's another thing. You know, this show should not be taken seriously, but the crowd really enjoyed it as well. So, as you said, Matt, if we'd have paid 50 quid for a ticket and sat in the crowd, we'd have had the time of our lives, and it looked like the crowd did as well. But where do you even start with this show? Because honestly, this is like someone got hammered and just did a random draw for a Stardom pay-per-view in an EFED. Because, like... Let's get the Zombie Lumberjack match out of the way for a start. The Dun Matsumoto and Zap match versus Mina and Waka is the worst match of the year. Like, by a distance, in my opinion. There is nothing for you there. Do not go and seek this match out. It is terrible.
However, I'm going to be positive. God bless Mina and Waka for doing everything humanly possible to get this match over. To get Mina Shirakawa, one of the biggest stars, not only in Stardom, but in the planet. Like, she does the full entrance. She's all into it. She's trying to work Zap's leg, clearly knowing that Zap, God bless her, she can barely move. But again, kudos to her for even being in the ring. Or not Zap, Dump Matsumoto. Zap wasn't too far behind her. Again, God bless her as well. But Mina and Waka Mina worked this match as if like she was wrestling Sai Kamatani for the Wonder Belt. Like, she put her whole heart in this, and as if I couldn't love Mina Shirakawa enough, even more. But God bless her. Her and Waka, they put everything they could in this match and did everything they possibly could to get this match over.
It is worth noting that Dump Matsumoto at this point is 62 years old and has been wrestling longer than Mina Shirakawa has been alive. She's got 43 years of experience. It is no wonder the poor woman cannot move. Should she be booked in matches? Probably not. But that's beside the point. Credit to her for coming out. It is still not a very good match. In fact, it's pretty terrible. But, as you said, Matt, positive spin on it. Credit to Mina. Credit to Waka. And, yeah, hopefully Dump and Zap, in fairness, just look after yourselves. Retire. You don't need to wrestle anymore. Please. The Zombie Rumble. Matt.
Yeah.
My favourite part of this Rumble, apart from Sexy Dynamite Princess 2 and the debut of Super Strong Stardom Giant Machine 2, is the fact that Ram Kaichow got attacked by the zombies and started dancing Thriller.
Yep, mine too.
Not only that, she continued with it for about an hour after the show. There was so many videos on social media of her getting really upset because she couldn't stop her arms doing the Thriller thing. And honestly, that tickled me for far longer than it should have done.
Yeah, this Rumble wasn't too much to write home about. Again, you said Sexy Dynamite Princess 2. You think it's Hanan. Now, halfway through the Sexy Dynamite Princess Mariah May dance. She did do the Hanan arms raised entrance theme, the entrance that she does when she's walking down the rampway. I will say this, Rob, I'm not going to disagree with you or agree with you that it was Hanan, but we did not see Hanan on this card anywhere. We also did not see Mariah May on this card anywhere. So I'm not saying it is or isn't Mariah May as Sexy Dynamite Princess number 2. Maybe Vince Russo is the one that booked this because it's a swerve, baby.
Good gracious me, you're absolutely right. How could I have been so stupid? And to be fair, no Mercedes Moné on this card. No Kyrie. I mean, I was so stupid to jump to conclusions that it was Hannah.
Medusa wasn't on this card. Akira Hokuto wasn't on this card. You don't know who that was.
Seth Rollins. I mean, it literally could have been anybody. El Generico. I mean, to be fair, the guy is building homeless shelters.
The human Cadillac, Dorian DeVille. Yeah, you fixed me a softball. Didn't even know it, brother.
There you go. Yeah, it's a match that there's no point us trying to summarize what goes on in these matches because it is just utter carnage. If you have got nothing to do, go and watch it because genuinely this show is quite entertaining and there are genuinely funny bits in this show. Like this Trick or Treat Falls Count Anywhere match. Suzu Suzuki, Meisei, Momo Watanabe, and Tekla. Suzu Suzuki stops mid-match just to start eating chocolate. Again, fired a cannon at Tekla. Tekla missed the ramp and just descended into hell and then emerged just laughing to herself, but managed to recover it relatively well. I'd argue, Matt, that if you're going on match quality, I'd say this and the Halloween Weapons 4-way are probably the match you would go out of your way to watch.
And I know it's not a quote unquote special attraction match. To me, the best match on the show was the opener, was the tag match, and we'll get into that because that was an actual, with Prominence versus Shiri and Saki. We'll get into that, but yeah, I totally agree. Now, Rob, again, this is kind of like a one-off show, maybe not in continuity, but maybe it is because who are the next 2 challengers for the red and white belt?
That would be Suzu Suzuki and Saori Anou.
So who won this match and who won the next match?
That would be Matt Turner, Suzu Suzuki, and Saori Anou.
Credit to Rossy Ogawa for keeping his challengers strong.
I love that that's a positive you managed to draw from that.
Yeah, but this match was fun. You basically said what you needed to say. Tekla did the double. Instead of doing the superplex, she did like the double superplex and then hit the dive. But partner, I don't know if you know the answer to this. I didn't realize this until about 2 minutes in because when the graphic came up for the match, I started writing down my notes for what match it was. Where was Kagama? Was she sick or injured? Because I realized like 2 minutes of the match, I'm like, she's not in this. Do we know what happened to her?
I don't.
Yeah, if anybody can fill us in, because she was obviously advertised for the match on the graphic, and I didn't hear anything. No, I did not watch this show live. One of the very, very few times at a Stardom pay-per-view, I did not watch it live, so I didn't have anybody point out on the old Twitter machine where she was. So was not on this show.
No. Of course she wasn't. She was at the funeral on the 28th, wasn't she, Ami Saori?
No, Kagama was supposed to be in this match.
Oh, Koguma, I'm sorry. Huh. Yeah, she was.
But she was at the show, with the was she at the show before? When we just reviewed? No, she wasn't. Well, yeah, she was, because she was in the main event with Classmates.
Yeah, she was.
Huh. Yeah, I wonder why.
Mate, I imagine probably because she was one of the zombies.
Oh, that's a possibility. Well, it's not like she's pulling double duty. It's not like she's putting on 30-minute match and then a 45-minute match. But
Whoa. You don't know what it takes to be a zombie. Don't you dare assume,
you're right.
Matt Turner, that it is easy.
The only thing I know about zombies, I'm a big fan of Rob Zombie. But anywho, because I got to get dinner soon, let's talk about this 4-way with Tora versus Hazuki versus Darth May Sakurai versus Saori Anou. Now, I want to point out that Hazuki came dressed out as, what was she, a cop? Security guard?
I think she was supposed to be a member of the SWAT
That's right.
team,
That's right. Okay. And then May Sakurai came out dressed as Darth Vader. At first, when she came out, I'm like, oh, no hat. I'm like, oh, well, if you're going to replace not wear your hat, Darth Vader, huge Star Wars fan, came out with a lightsaber. Okay, fantastic. Tora came dressed out as Tora. That's kind of Halloween all year round. She gets a pass for me. because she didn't dress up. Now, Saori Anou did not come dressed up at all, Rob Goodwin. She did not. And I know some people are like, well, that's not fair. She's really the only one in the match that kind of is not into the Halloween spirit. Now, I will say this, Rob, as this match was getting going, especially towards the end, she may not have dressed up as somebody, but she challenged. She was basically took the morphing of a certain character towards the end of the match. Do you know who that character she was that she basically took the form of?
No, but I'm intrigued.
It was Hazuki, because she basically goes full Hazuki mode on Miss Sakura at the end and just beats the crap out of her with like Thor's hammer and these whips. And I was like, geez, I said, you're doing Hazuki's gimmick. And Hazuki's in the match.
Hazuki's right there, man.
But yeah, this was fun. It was, I mean, obviously, Tor is fantastic. Hazuki's great. Miss Sakurai, again, you basically spreading her wings, if you will, and doing something completely different. That completely stands out from this match with these three fantastic workers. Not that she's not a fantastic worker, but in the totem pole, she's probably fourth with all due respect to her. But she finds a way to stand out. Again, me, who's a giant Star Wars fan, I'm like, awesome, Darth Vader, lightsaber, of course, why not? I thought she was fantastic here. But again, great job with Saori Anou hitting. I love it how she takes Minoru, Thor's hammer, and hits May with it. But that wasn't the finish. She's like, instead of me hitting you with an imaginary hammer from Norse mythology, that's not enough to get the win. I got to hit the Tom's Tundra for the win, just in case she was going to kick out of getting hit with a hammer from Norse mythology. Brilliant.
And just before we sort of sign off, because Riwakawa's Halloween mask, Mirai got attacked by a Wedatai. Sure, okay. It seemed like a bit of a waste of time on pay-per-view, considering it went less than 5 minutes. The main event. What did you... Aside from Rossy Ogawa being the most over person in this entire match, what was your opinion of this?
I was like, oh, okay. I thought they were going to maybe tease a little bit, getting the mask take off, but I guess that's what they did the match before with Ruaka. So like, Yu just comes and takes her mask off, and then we have Megan Bayne, and then I'm like, well, who's left that's not on this show? I'm like, Micah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. This was like maybe a straight up match where they did like a tag with maybe Yu and Mayu versus Divine Kingdom. I thought that could have worked. They had their fun with picked up round. Oh, I liked how Megan Bayne body slammed her own partner through a coffin. It's like, yeah, hey, everyone for themselves. I'll see you down the road at the next tournament match. But I loved it how it was like that's how they took Micah out. Is Megan Bayne slammed her through a coffin and then just like exploded. It was like then Micah just laid there for the remainder of the match. But I liked how Mayu and Rossy Ogawa are in the coffin and they're trying to shut the lid. And then Mayu and Rossy Ogawa, they're trying not to get locked in the coffin. It's about to explode. But the two of them can't help themselves and start laughing, like totally breaking kayfabe. What the heck's wrong with you? You know? Yeah, it was fun. It was what it was. But yeah, what was your opinions on it, Rob? Before we, because I do want to talk about the tag match just briefly. What was your opinion on this match?
It was fine. Again, we've said it many times. It was a fun match. You could see how much fun all four women and Rossy were having during this match. So I'm not going to hold too much against it. If you thought that Mayu versus Crows was going to be a 5-star classic, you're going into this show with the wrong attitude. I think it was what it needed to be. It was just some fun for the Takikawa Stage Garden audience, and I think that's what they had. I don't think anyone expected IWA Japan, Cactus Jack versus Terry Funk explosions for the coffin either. It was a gimmick that was there to add just a little bit of fun, a little bit of drama to it. So yeah, it was fine, Matt. I didn't rate any of these matches because what is the point?
Yeah, I did rate this tag match again. I want to go through this real quick because I did not realize, folks, that the time zone difference between myself and Rob is usually 5 hours. Rob had his daylight savings time on Sunday, so we're a little bit off. So I am like 20 minutes late for dinner. So I'm just gonna kind of run through this stuff so then I can shuffle off to dinner because I will be away for the next 2 days for work stuff. So I won't be able to see my wonderful bride all that much the next few days. Anywho, Rob Goodwin, we talk a lot on this show about these fantastic teams in this tournament. This prominent team of Risa Sera and Kurumi Hiragi. is another one to watch out for because they put on a barn burner on night one and then a fantastic match with Syuri and Saki. Again, Saki, her strikes, they had to be on point in this match because you're wrestling, two crazy hard hitters in Risa Sera and Kurumi Haragi. And I liked how Syuri, she was able to get the advantage in this match by using her submissions. It's really where she has the advantage, not only against this prominence team, but really up against anybody. She does a great job isolating Haragi with the belly down armbar. She does using her strikes to set up the submissions to the knee to Risa Sera, which I thought was really good. I thought the finish of this match was great, where Yusaki Kashima, the most deadly move in all of wrestling, is the Kishi Kasai. She gets it on Risa Sera, but Risa rolls all the way through and then is able to use her arm to hook Saki's neck and then drop her headfirst onto the apron, or onto the mat, with the air raid crash. I really thought this was a solid match that had a really cool and thought out finish to give Prominence their first actual win of the tournament. 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was a really good match, really great way to start this show, which was all over the place. In my opinion, the best match of this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us to the end of our show. There are a couple of Tag League shows that will be happening in November. The 4th, the 5th, and I believe the 3rd as well have all got dates for the Tag League, but unfortunately, none of the cards have been announced. Presumably, again, as I mentioned last week, this is just so that they can see who is back from injury before they start doing Tag League matches, because at the moment, Cosmic Angels, the Yuna Mizumori and Tam Nakano team are the only team that haven't actually had a match yet. So I assume they are waiting to see how Tam is going to fare before risking a head of the Gold Rush match with Suzu Suzuki. But yes, thank you so much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. We've enjoyed making it, as always. Thank you to everyone that has listened, everyone that has subscribed, everyone that has rated the podcast, everyone that's found us for the first time, everyone that supports us on Patreon. We appreciate every single one of you. Thank you to everyone. If you want to find us on social media, you can at the Stardom Cast. Don't forget that you can get all of our episodes early and ad-free for just $1 a month over at patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, as well as literally hundreds of bonus episodes as well. If you want to talk to me on Twitter, you can at Real Rob Goodwin. We'll be back next week where we will be reviewing those Tag League dates and previewing Mayu's match against Stephanie Vaca as well. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely, folks. Don't forget to follow Pro Wrestling Dream, as that is going to be Rob and I's next project, and we're super excited, like we mentioned at the start of the show, to be a part of that. So follow Pro Wrestling Dream over on the Twitter, and keep all up to dates on everything that's going on with the new promotion. And again, Rob and I are super excited to be a part of this. Any questions, comments, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram and or the Twitter. Folks, don't forget to buy poi. How to get that in, as busy as I am. As much as I'm in a rush, you got to get the catchphrase in. Got to get in, buy poi. Again, a million thanks to everybody that has supported the podcast. It literally blows my mind every time I'm looking at numbers. I'm like, how is this even possible? And it's possible because of you, because of all the shares, the retweets, and just word of mouth that everybody is giving us. And again, we can't do this without you folks, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast, it's our podcast, because we're all together and everybody's different, everybody's special.